Hello everybody. In a previous video, I analyzed classical lectures, chalk things on the board, students make notes, and flipped classes. I came to the conclusion that neither of these extremes is ideal for many situations. My technique, I semi-flip the class. What exactly is semi-flipping and how do I use that to teach sophomore organic chemistry? I think of semi-flipping as having two core components, both equally important. One is a workbook problem. The other one is calling on students and encouraging participation. Let's talk about the workbook first. It must contain about 5 times as many problems as will be solved in the class. This gives the students a lot of material to work on. Secondly, the answers must be provided somewhere. Those answers are important for students to get feedback. Are they doing these problems correctly? Are they on the right track, or are they wasting their time? That student self-practice breaks the illusion of fluency. In theory, students think they know it. In practice, they don't. The questions are designed to encourage active recall of facts and concepts. Students know they should cover all the problems in the workbook. Students love clarity. What do we have to know? If that workbook is almost a faithful reproduction of the types of problems that will occur on the exam, they're really happy about that. An introductory mind map is valuable because it tells the students in advance what they should be looking into. And it's excellent for revision later on. They can use a mind map as a cue to check that they know the things they should. So a typical chapter in the new edition will look like this, with a mind map summarizing everything visually, bang, on the first page. On the second page, I talk about introduction to the content, why anybody cares about this. What are the concepts involved? What will you need to grasp? And once you grasp them, what skills will you obtain? How valuable will they be? This is a typical page. You see parts in red are for the students to strike out the wrong answer. That's active recall of facts and application of concepts. The parts highlighted in purple require the students to remember what, in this case, an energy maximum is, what is a carbonium ion, what is protonation, and then the question with the gaps in it requires the students to practice drawing chemical structures and drawing electron flow using curly arrows. I might even work in some questions on orbitals. In my course, one class corresponds to one chapter in the workbook. It is crystal clear for the students what's coming in the next lecture and what they should study on the last lecture. They know exactly where they are in the syllabus. And the message to the students is, you do all these problems, you do well on those, the exam will resemble the workbook. The questions may not be identical, but they will be of exactly that style. They love that clarity. Before a class, they looked at the mind map, they maybe look at the text, they self-test. And after the class, what should I know now for the next class? Because in the next class, I always give a quiz on the material from the class before. Some of those quizzes are graded. It encourages them to post-test. So the workbook then is very important. There's lots of components to it. It's not good enough to have just one set of problems to cover in class and not give the students a great deal more to practice on. The second component of semi-flipping is interacting with the students in the class. This is an art. Probably professors won't get it right the very first time they try it. It takes a little bit of practice. What I do, use the workbook. I present the workbook as a PDF. Remember, there's gaps in the text. I strike out things just as I illustrated before, but I ask the students, well, what do you think? Is this right? As a concept comes up, concept that students might be struggling with, I think it through with them, calling on people, help me with this. What do you think in the next step here? Why is it like that? So my class is very fluid. I don't use PowerPoints. I don't contrive the way I'm going to deliver the material. It's spontaneous. That spontaneity keeps it fresh for everybody. How to call on the students is critical. The safest way, of course, is to invite everybody. Hey, everybody, please. Does anyone know the answer to this question? It's nice for the eager students who really want to participate to show that they know the answer. They won't forget it then. If they answer in class, they carry that memory with them. After a while, professors realize it's the same select group of students who are going to volunteer an answer, and many other students don't want to. It's important then to force them out of their shells. Call on students by name. They may hate it at first, but after a while they get used to this and they respond. If I can't remember the name of the student, I call on them by the color of their clothes or the bag they're carrying or the skateboard on their desk. Anyway, doesn't matter. The key thing is don't humiliate any student. I work along rows. I like to do that because the students anticipate the question is coming to me soon. I'd better be ready for it. And it's clear who I'm asking. The lady on your right. What do you think? I don't like students sitting at the back. Students who sit at the back learn less. It's obvious. A student sitting at the back will see everything that everybody else is doing and become distracted. To discourage students sitting at the back, I like to call on them first. The students sitting on the front, it's too easy to call on them too many times. I try to avoid that. Students who sit at the front learn more. And I use my questions as a weapon. I call on disruptors. People who are talking to each other, you can count on getting a question from me. I call on consistent late arrivers. Oh, sure, I let them come in and sit down, then I call on them. It amuses everybody else that I do this. I think they get the idea. Please, don't be late every time to my class. If a student gets a question right, great. Often I just confirm. That's wonderful. That's exactly the answer I wanted. What if a student gets an answer wrong in front of the whole class? Well, remember, we mustn't humiliate anybody. The technique I use is to ask a student nearby, what do you think? Is that the right answer? Sometimes that student will give the opposite answer. Then I don't confirm it. I just go to the third student. Hey, you have the deciding vote. One student says this, one student says that. What's the correct situation? By that time, the whole class have forgotten what the first student said, and they don't really care anyway. Everybody escapes unscathed by any humiliating situation. Of course, after a while, professors learn this student is really good. That student is struggling. So I choose the harder questions, the really challenging ones, for the supernovas in my class. For the black holes, I choose the easiest possible question I can think of. Some students are just shy. They may know the material, but they really don't want to say anything in front of anybody else. But I'm not proud. I will ask them their name. They can't claim that they don't know that. And once they've given me their name, I say, well, thank you, Susan. What do you think of this? And it's easier for them to carry on once the ice is broken. Interacting with students in a class is an art. It's a little bit more risky than giving a classical lecture, but it's fun. You develop an understanding with the students. You get to know them a little bit. I expected the students would learn more in this type of semi-flipped class. I think they do, but I didn't expect I would enjoy it much more, and I certainly do. One more thing, the students get a copy of my workbook. I try not to ask them to buy an expensive new text to go with it. One of the main reasons students drop out of universities in the United States is because they cannot pay the tuition, the personal maintenance, and the books. To alleviate that problem, I recommend a series of quality textbooks. I tell the students I won't be setting questions from these books. You can have the 8th edition. It doesn't matter if you haven't got the 9th or the 10th. You could buy a tatty old copy on eBay, and it would do just as well. You can search Google, Wikipedia, WikiCam, any source to learn the material. The textbook isn't a Bible in my class. The Bible is the workbook. What do you think? Do you like my approach? Could it be better? If it could, please tell me. What do you do in your class that would improve mine? Are you thinking of switching? Great. Please tell me in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. The people who subscribe to my channel, thank you very much. The people who give me a like thumb, oh, that's very nice. Thank you. Some people have even bought my workbooks from www.byinquisition.org. That is wonderful. Thank you very much for doing that. I hope some of you will adopt the book and find them useful for your class. I have 3 workbooks, one for Sophomore Organic 1, one for Sophomore Organic 2, and an advanced workbook for higher level classes or first-year graduate students. Thank you very much for listening. Bye-bye.